In today's video, I'm gonna run you guys through a skincare product photography photo shoot in my studio here at home. And I'm gonna give you guys insight into my whole creative process, from the styling and the props I'm gonna be using, from the production itself, and also a little bit of editing at the end. So make sure you stick around for that. Now, if you're new here, I'm Amanda and I'm a brand photographer based in Brisbane, Australia. And essentially, I help other brand photographers build a photography business. So if you'd love to see more insight into how to do that, you want to look at more behind the scenes tutorials, Photoshop and Lightroom editing, and basically everything that goes into running a photography business, I have created a course called Become a Brand Photographer, which teaches you everything that you need to know. And I'll leave a link in the description below in case that is of interest to you. And you can also use the code YouTube for 10% off. But if you have any questions as to whether it's going to be the right fit, always feel free to DM me on Instagram. And if you're not following me on Instagram, go and connect with me over there. My handle is Amanda Campeanu. I share more behind the scenes tips and tricks and more about my personal life. So I would love to connect with you over there as well. But without further ado, let's get stuck into the video. So today we are going to be creating for my client body blends. And if you've never heard of them, get on it, because every single product that they release is absolute gold. I'm obsessed. So we're going to be creating some photos here with their new kits. And the first thing that I'm going to run you through is a little bit of insight into my creative process, where I'm going to work out how I'm going to style these. Now, with any photo shoot that you do, you must start with the pre-production process, and sometimes this can actually take a couple of hours. So in this process, you are looking at what backgrounds you need to use, any props you have to source, and just overall creative concept and composition of your shots. So the first kit we're going to look at is this one. It is the Buff and Firm kit. Now, my thought process to begin with is to play on the colors of this kit. We've got a really nice gradient of the blue and the pink, and I actually bought a custom backdrop for the brand from a company called Club Backdrops in this teal blue color. So I'm going to be using the blue and pink in this first shot that we're going to set up. So let's go. So we've got our props and products on the left hand side here that we're using, and as you can see, we're really playing on the colors of pink and blue displayed in the packaging. And then we've also got our backgrounds up. So I've put the blue on the floor and the pink as the background, as to not overpower the photo too much with that really bright blue color. So the pink is just a little bit more subtle. So I'm going to place my kit box down first, and the other thought that I had with this background was because the pink is on the bottom and the blue is on the top, so I wanted to put pink on the top and blue on the bottom just to contrast that a little bit more. And the next thing I'm going to do is put this pink block down. So pedestals are a really great way to help separate the height of different products when you're working with multiple products in a scene. Put that there, and then I'm going to put the scrub roughly about there. I've got this other blue block here as well. Now, these were given to me from another photographer. I always get questions about these kinds of blocks. You can actually make your own. So they're actually just a piece of wood and they've been painted. So go to your local hardware store, buy some wood, buy some paint, and you can easily make your own as well. So I'm gonna pop that just at the back, just to add a little bit more color and make that blue pop. And we've got a mitt. Mitts are a little bit hard to photograph sometimes, so I'm just gonna pop it here on the floor. And I've got this little mini bathtub. So my kind of thought process with this was, because it's a buff and firm kit, you obviously do everything in like a bathtub or a shower. So I wanted to include this prop to indicate, you know, it's bath time, it's pamper time. And then I've got these little acrylic gems here. So these are just from Amazon, and I'm gonna fill the bathtub with these. And then I'm just gonna spill them like out around the bathtub and onto the mitt. got one behind there. I think that's pretty good. Now, I also feel like it needs something else here, and I want to really show the texture of this scrub, which smells amazing, by the way. So when you're dealing with skincare, always ask your clients to send at least double of the product, because most likely you're going to want to get into the product and use the texture. You might want to destroy the product, like God knows what you want to do, but it's always a good idea to get at least double. So I'm just going to create a little mound there, and that way you can really see the texture of the scrub. It smells amazing. Just clean that up a little bit. And we're done with this shot. So we've got our next scene here, and I've just changed the backdrop to make it a seamless backdrop. And again, this one is from a company called Club Backdrops. So they are in the UK, they ship internationally, and shipping is really, really fast, by the way. So we're going with this custom pink color again. These are a little bit reflective because they are vinyl, they're not non-reflective paper, but I think they do a pretty good job. So we're gonna start styling the scene here. Alright, so I have placed my kit down first, and the next thing I'm gonna do is pop this pink block about there, and this is going to be a pedestal for the coffee scrub. So I've gone with a block that is just a little bit wider than the product itself. This block I actually made myself. It's a little bit rough around the edges, but we can fix that up in post-production. I'm then going to try and balance, actually no, let's grab the mitt. I'm just going to lay out the box a little bit over the mitt there. Bring that back a tad. And then I'm going to lean this product here. So sometimes with leaning products, it just gives the photo a little bit more creativity, a little bit more interest. So when you are placing your products, see if there's any other way that you can actually place it down. Instead of doing this, it's a little bit more interesting if we do this. Now I also want to add in this little glass crystal ball, and we're gonna hold that down with a little bit of blue tack and pop it about there. And then we're gonna grab these sunnies. So I kind of thought, like, I mean, for this brand, they're very fun, they're very colorful, they're very bold. And because it's summer here in Australia, I thought it'd be fun to play on a little bit of a summer theme. So I'm just gonna pop them, I think, try and lean that there maybe. And then we're just gonna fix this up. Maybe bring that back there and bring that in a little bit. Okay, and I'm happy with that composition. Now this is my lighting setup. So we have my Godox SL60W on the left hand side with a softbox, and then we've got my Godox FV150 on the right with no softbox. So I really enjoy working with hard light a lot of the time, as it creates shadows on the scene. Now this is actually my usual setup for a lot of my product photography. I have one light on the left and I have one light on the right. Sometimes I'll change it up, but it really depends on what I'm shooting. So hopefully this gives you guys an idea as to my studio setup if you're new to studio lighting. And if you want to know more about that, I'll link you guys a video that you can go and watch if you are brand new to studio lights. All right, so this next scene, we are doing this next kit, and I have used a white textured vinyl backdrop, again from Club Backdrops, and then as the base I'm using this beautiful pink tile vinyl backdrop from the Everyday Co. Now because we're using like a yellow peachy colored color palette, I will be using some yellow blocks and like a peach colored pedestal as well. So I'm gonna start by putting the kit on top of this box here, this pedestal, like that. And because we've got a makeup bag, I want to pop this at the back so it's not too overpowering for the other products that we have to show. And I'm going to, I think, put it like this instead of like that so we can see it. And then I'm gonna pop this little pedestal at the front, and this little mask here is gonna go on top. Now, we have to really show the texture of this mask. And like I said before, it's a really good idea to have at least double of everything when you're working with skincare. So let's go ahead and fill up these tubs with mask. All right, so for this one, I'm gonna need 2 of the product, and you're gonna need a palette knife. I find these are the best ones to use to really help you get that nice texture on top. So the first thing we're gonna make sure is that at the front of the product, there's no like gaps in the texture like this, so I'm not gonna use that one. I think we'll use this one as the main product. So as you can see, we need to fill that tub with more product. So I'm gonna take this one here, and I'm just going to start putting product on top. And then what you want to do is just remove any excess product from the top as well, just to make sure it's nice and clean. Leave it there. Now to place this one down, I'm going to be putting it on top of its lid. So I'm going to pop the lid here, and then the mask on top, so that the lid acts as its own little pedestal. It just creates a little bit of separation from the product and the floor. And for the last element, I'm going to be using this phone. So I'm not going to be using this part here, it's a bit too bulky, but essentially I'm going to be holding the phone like this in the corner of the frame to kind of indicate like your skincare routine is calling you, you know, something like that. And I think it just adds a little bit more interest and also adds a nice human element with my hand. All right, for this last scene, we are doing the Skin Rejuvenation Kit. And for this one, we're gonna do a little bit of a floating product look, and I'm gonna show you how we do that. Now, to work with these 2 products here, so we've got an AHA facial peel and a serum. They're quite small, so we wanna create a little bit of height separation to make them stand out amongst each other. So I'm gonna be using these clear acrylic blocks, and I'm gonna pop one there and put the AHA facial peel on that one. And then I'm gonna put the other one here, smaller one, and pop that up. Now, if you wanna know where I get props like this from, I have a full resource list inside my course, Become a Brand Photographer, for my students. Okay, so that's pretty good. And then we have the mask as well, the pink clay mask. And again, we have packed on the texture on top. And I'm gonna be using the lid as the base and putting that there like that. Okay, so another little tip, when you're working with clear skincare product bottles, make sure that your product goes right to the brim as well, which is another reason why it's a good idea your client sends at least double. So what I was working with to begin with was this. So you can see that that isn't actually full, and if I only had that to work with, I'd have to change that in post, which is more work for me, and we don't want that. Same with that one, it's not exactly full and it looks better if it's full. And then we're going to pop the headband on this side here, like that. Okay, now we're gonna get to the floating look. So I want this eyedropper here to make it look like it is floating around about there or there. Now, a good thing with these backdrops as well, these vinyl backdrops, you can get any kind of skincare product you want on it. And all you have to do is wipe it away. So it's perfect. Now, to do the floating product look, sometimes I just use a pencil. I use a pencil and I use some blue tack. So what we're gonna do is attach the blue tack, oh, let's go this end, to the end of the pencil, like that. And we're going to stick it on the back of the eyedropper. So essentially what we do is we take the eyedropper out, and while you take the photo, you're just gonna hover the eyedropper any way you want. So it might be up here, you might want it here. Take a couple of different options and see which one you like best. And that's how you do a floating product look. All right, so here we are in Lightroom, and I'm just gonna show you guys how I basically color grade these photos to begin with, and then I'm going to explain what I do in Photoshop. So the first thing that we have to do is we have to enable our profile corrections. And the reason for this is because you can see a vignette around the sides of the frame. This is actually caused by the lens. So we have to enable profile corrections. So I'm just gonna start by working down my sliders. So I always just start at the top and work my way down. And sometimes I don't really need to do too much. I'm just gonna bump up that shadow a lot though, because I think it's gonna look nice. Bump up those whites and decrease those blacks. Increase clarity, not too much though, otherwise you'll just way overdo it. And let's just see, do I want to decrease my dehaze? I'm just going to increase my dehaze slightly, and I might just play around a little bit with my tone curve. I'm just going to adjust those highlights, maybe bring up the mid-tones a little bit so you can kind of see the difference that this makes. Bring up the shadows, and then I'm just going to crush those blacks. Bring it to about there. And I'm actually not going to do anything else in Lightroom. I'm not even going to crop it in Lightroom, because what happens is if I give it a 1:1 crop, it's going to cut off the edge of the bit. So what I have to do is I'm going to have to extend the background, the floor and the background a little bit up, which I can only do in Photoshop. So I'm not going to be cropping in Lightroom. So I'm going to go copy, and then I'm going to go to my next one and paste. And usually paste. Usually everything is going to be pretty much the same, because I've shot in the exact same light. I'm using relatively the same color backgrounds, so I'm quite happy with this color grade. So basically what I do is I do a basic color grade in Lightroom first, and then I finish it off in Photoshop. Now for this image here, I also put a little light behind the box here just to illuminate this section of the photo. And I'm gonna go to this one. And again, I think I'm gonna have to expand the top of this. Now this is a little bit bright, so I'm just gonna bring down these shadows. I might put it there, I think. Copy that. And then this is the other photo that I took as well for this scene, for this brand. That is quite bright, so I might just bring down that exposure a tad. And I'm just going to increase my dehaze a little bit. So you can see the issue with this photo, we have a few. We've got some marks on the product the product that we have to remove, marks on the blocks. This needs to be fixed, this background line here, and also a little bit on the white area as well. But this is a great start, and now we're going to go into Photoshop. All right, so I've pulled this photo into Photoshop, and I'm just going to show you the beginning stages of what I do to this photo. Now, the first thing we have to do is we have to crop this image. So I'm going to go to my crop tool here, and I actually want to make this a 4:5, and I want to extend out the background a little bit and bring this down here. So I think that's going to be nice and balanced in terms of space on the top and space on the bottom. Maybe you just bring that there. And what you want to do is ensure that content aware is ticked, because what's going to happen is these transparent pixels here are ideally going to be filled in with this pink color background. So we're just going to go enter. All right, so we've extended our background, and the next thing that we have to do is just clean up the overall image. So the first thing that I'm noticing is this pink block here. I'm gonna duplicate this image and work on a new layer. Now, I've shown you guys this little trick before on how to isolate different sections of your photo so that you can not affect other parts. So I'm gonna take my lasso tool, and I'm just gonna fix this area first. Take my clone stamp tool, bring it down a little bit, and I'm just gonna clean up this edge. So if you want to see my retouching tutorial on my channel, I'll link it above for you guys. It's just about how to clean up your images. So we're in that cleaning phase right now. My computer's a bit laggy. And I think that has probably cleaned that up nicely. Yes. And then I'm just gonna get rid of a couple of other little dots and blend that in a little bit more. Get rid of this line here. And then the other thing that I'm gonna do as well is just come over to this packaging here and just clean up these little lines, these little creases in the packet. All right, so that's basically the start of my editing process. I do a basic color grade in Lightroom and then take it over into Photoshop to finish off the retouching. So that process we've just done is, basic cleaning, product retouching in Photoshop. I'll show you the final photo that I've done. So I've obviously done a little bit more to this image in terms of making it pop. I have added a lens flare to the top right hand corner, but like I said before, if you want to know more about Photoshop and product retouching, go and check out my course. There are Photoshop tutorials in there for you. So I hope you guys found this skincare product photography tutorial helpful and you're walking away with some ideas that you can maybe try on your own shoots. But if you love this video, give it a thumbs up and head on over to my YouTube channel and hit subscribe if you want to see more of this type of content. Otherwise, head on over to my Instagram, Amanda Campeanu, and go and connect with me over there. Otherwise, guys, I will see you in the next video.